Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Ayliah Cannon, and I am a minister with ADF, a Druid Fellowship. Our minister, Reverend Ben Arterton Zeman, is the morning off, but we may see him later. I want to extend a very warm welcome to anyone who is new here or visiting for the first time. We really appreciate your presence and thank you. If you're watching on streaming for the first time, also a good morning to you. The bell which you just heard ring is a repurposed school bell. And I think it's pretty appropriate that a UU has a repurposed school bell because in this environment, we are always learning and growing. And a very special thank you to Ellen Hayes, who rang the bell for us this morning. I am happy to be joined by Bill Motter as worship associate. We have music with John and James, and our pianist today is Todd Wellman because Erin Cassette also has the morning off. Kelly Olson will be manning the live streaming and the chat if you need to ask her anything there. If you are looking for a spiritual home where everyone's rights matter, where every person is valued, where people from all walks of life are welcome. You may have found your new church home. Welcome. Today's service is very special. The theme of the service is be, begin, believe, become, be renewed. Now that may sound like quite a mouthful. The word be means to exist, to thrive, to flourish, to breathe. And before COVID, we were in a state of being. And then for a long time, we were just kind of stuck in the moment. And now we have a chance to begin again, to become, to believe in our faith. And it is also the Spring Awakenings. The Spring Awakening, a magical time of nature and embracing life around us. We could not be who we are today without the magnificent, devoted, generosity of many of our volunteers. And today we honor a very dear and beloved member whom many of you know. Today, this is Sue Price Day. Sue, we are very grateful for all of your service and commitment over the years. You have made a huge impact on this congregation and on this church. Thank you so much. You are going to be deeply missed. And now I will allow our president, Karen Cole, to share a few words with Karen.
I'm not as strong as I used to be. Anyway, as Ayliah has said, this is a special day to recognize Sue. But I do want to welcome all of you to our church and for showing up today to also show your care and acknowledgement and thankfulness for Sue. So why don't you come up front, Sue? She has made many, many contributions to our church and to the community overall. Come up here with me, okay? Oh, that's okay. Thank you. Okay, so Sue, I think I met you soon after you and Roy moved to this area, if I remember correctly. And we had the pleasure of sharing a couple Christmases and Thanksgivings together. I know it's been a long time because the grandkids were about this high, and now they're this big, and those were very special times together. You and Roy also got us hooked on the Tampa Bay Symphony, and sort of bribing us beginning with the discounted tickets, and then we always had fun afterwards at the Old Northeast Tavern. And that was fun too, and also you've hosted so many events at your homes on Tia Verde, and then also in St. Pete. But I want to cover a lot of your volunteering, and when I was driving over here today, I remembered another one that I didn't get in the list. But I want to begin with the League of Women Voters, and there's a couple of people back there like Carol Marks and Amy Whitetraub and her husband, who go back a long ways with you. I think you started on the Immigration Committee, is that correct? Yeah, we did research to try to bring driver's licenses to the undocumented and by studying other states, and you did a lot of that research. We weren't did what? Taking clothes, yes, we did that as well. We weren't successful in the legislation, but we did do some work also with and that's really our social justice ministry here, where we took donations of clothing over to Hillsborough and went to the migrant farm worker homes and the farms themselves, and sometimes got a little lost in some of those country roads outside of Plant City and Dover, but we had a fun time together. Here also at St. Pete, you use St. Pete, you chaired the CARES Committee forever and ever. You did a lot of great work. And someone gave me a quote that I really think is wonderful, attributed to you, and that's about all the receptions you did for memorial services and funerals. And you said, "Everyone only dies once. So everyone deserves a nice reception when they do." And you made sure they had one. Also, our last big event prior to COVID in November 2019, she ran the flea market, which was a raging success, mainly because Sue knows how to attract volunteers, and you also know how to help them work together. So thank you for that. And then this, the other is you talked about it a few minutes ago, you mentioned it, our immigrant families. Did advocacy work, but I think the most poignant part is that we had 3 families that came from the Congo in December of 2015, and we're still involved with 2 of those. So they were going to be here by now, but I don't see them. So Ellen's going to give you something. Okay. So Santa Wazago and her family were going to be here. They'll probably be here then for the reception, and she's got quite a story to tell as well. But so thank you, Sue, for your endless generosity, and you're the type of volunteer one dreams of because you're loyal and you always show up. So thank you. So where there'll be a reception outside behind the church after services. Masks there will be optional. And that's brought to you by Kevin Wombolt, our first time having coffee since pre-COVID. Yeah. Nothing stronger. Okay. Also, Sue's discussion group has brought the little goodies to have to eat as well. So thank you for coming today. And we'll miss you.
Oh, I'll miss you. I'll miss all of you. I would say, I appreciate you, and I appreciate Karen. I wouldn't have done any of these things if it wasn't for leaders like Karen and others in this church. And it's been a pleasure to be a member of it for the last 10 years, attending 12, I guess. And I hope to continue in West Virginia also. But this church has done so much for others, and that's what it's all about. And I have not done near the work that other people have in this church. And I hope they get their appreciation day too, because they should. And the first thing I'm going to do when I get to West Virginia is register to vote and try to do something.
Sue, we have one more job for you before you leave us. Will you please light our chalice today?
Please Please join me in the words of our covenant as Sue lights the chalice.
Always have trouble getting these going.
Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Good morning. My name's Bill Motter, and I'm a grateful member of this congregation and so happy to be celebrating Sue Price Day. Please check our website and weekly newsletters for any upcoming announcements, but there is one important announcement I want to bring to everyone's attention. If you care about clean water, if you care about St. Pete and Pinellas County having affordable housing, if you care about fairness in criminal justice, then join us for our fast action on Monday, March 28th at 7 p.m. We'll have a free chartered bus leaving from the UUSP parking lot at 6 p.m. that day. Please sign up with either your network team member or Pat Fling or John Motter. And now Rebecca Wilson has an announcement for us.
I know you're wondering what this paper is along the south wall. I'm speaking for the transition team. Sorry, I'm so excited. I'm a member of the transition team, and we've been saying, the first task of transition is coming to terms with history. So for me, I got to have a timeline. And so I made this timeline with stuff like, who was the president of the United States? When was our building built? Who was the minister at that time? When did people join? But we need it to be filled out with events that you think are important. Who knows when we got air conditioning? So this is to help us get a grasp of our history, a sense of who we have been and who we are. And there's even space at the end to add your ideas about the future. So I have up after the service, or sometime in the coming weeks, markers and stickies, so you can put the information that you think is important up on the timeline. And then once we've all had a chance to add to the timeline, we hope that it will give the congregation a picture of who we've been, who we are, and where we want to go.
Now, for those of you streaming at home, I know you can't quite see it because it's the entire length of our hall here, but it is a most beautiful timeline. A lot of work has gone into it, and they have added the names of all of our current members. And it's really fascinating to see when the members join juxtaposed with different events in history. It's really wonderful. Maybe you can come by sometime and check it out. Thank you.
Guess what? We can sing. I know you're used to being at home and singing along to all the hymns, but we haven't been able to be here in this space singing. We ask you to keep your masks on, but please sing away. We're going to sing number 163 on this beautiful day. For the earth forever turning, for the skies, for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful songs of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures in their silent harmony, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons' harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful returning home to our blue-green hills of earth.
The Interconnection poem by Chitrangada Sharan. Everything is there for a reason. It's true, there is an equation. Every question has an answer, and an answer must have a question. 1 and 1 becomes 2, so that the 2 can become 1. The seconds make a minute, and minutes make an hour. The birds can't have a home without the green trees. The bees, the butterflies, can't be without the fragrant flowers. The flowers can't multiply without the bees, butterflies. The clouds can't roam without the sky. The rainfall can't happen without the dark clouds. The sunrise can't happen without the sunset. The days can't be without the nights. The humans can't breathe if there are no trees. Nature is interdependent, can't separate a part from a whole.
And now is the time in our service for joys, sorrows, and concerns. Please write out your joys and concerns or turn them in at this time so that we may share them with the congregation. If any of you at home have some concerns, please share them now and we will get to them as soon as possible. Also, if you're at home and you want to share a joy of having Sue Price in this congregation, please feel free to add it to the chat and we will make sure that she gets a copy of them.
Our first
Jamie-
stone is for Chris McDonald's nephew, Steve, who has cancer.
Our next stone goes out to a longtime friend of Beth Stombaugh's. Her friend just lost her son to a heart attack.
And from Christina B., a sorrow. I'm still struggling to find a new home and ask for hope that my small family finds somewhere to live that is safe and full of love.
And we have 2 joy stones from Edna. Thank goodness baseball is back. And also for Sabine and Jerry for initiating the walk and wave to visitors during the heart of the lockdown.
And Heidi H. is giving a shout out for Reverend Ben. So thankful for him.
And we have another joy stone. Cynthia P. is thankful to Linda and our many leaders.
And from Sabina, a joy of appreciation. In the spirit of appreciating our volunteers, thank you to Jeff Bambra for cleaning the windows, polishing the floors, and organizing our cleaning supplies. Shine on.
And we have one more joy of, not a joy, but a stone of sorrow. Kelly DeGraw has lost 2 more people in her circle recently. A dear friend's husband, a strong, wonderful woman she worked with. And she says cancer sucks, and it sure does. So let us add one more stone. Oh, we don't have a microphone.
I would like to thank everyone, whoever was responsible for the larger font. I don't even know.
Oh,
And also Sue Price.
thank you very much. She's thanking us for the larger font on the program, and also a thank you to Sue Price. And if you would please put one more stone for any sorrows, joys, or concerns that have gone unheard or unspoken. Thank you.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing my heart, stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you so much, John and James. And now, Jeanay has a story for all ages to share with us.
Good morning. Oh, wow. I was sitting there and I didn't know how many people were behind me. Hi, I know I'm not going anywhere, I promise. Not yet. So this story is by John Livingston Seagull. As you can see, the seagull right here. It was morning, and the new sun sparkled like gold across the ripples. I'm sorry, I got the story started, but I don't see any kids up front. Are there any kids in the building today? Come on up. She will certainly keep you busy. Well, good morning. Hi, Alejandra. Yep, she's going to keep you busy. So it was morning, and the new sun sparkled like gold across the ripples of the gentle sea. A mile from the shore, a fishing boat chummed the waters, and the word of the seagull's breakfast flock flashed through the air. Speaking of seagulls, can somebody take care of my seagull for me? I appreciate it. Don't squeeze them, though. 100 feet in the sky, a lone gull soared all by himself. He knew there was food to be eaten, but all he wanted to do was fly. To fly as high as he could and as possible as he could, even higher, even faster. His name was Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and he was no ordinary seagull. He loved to fly so much that he practiced flying higher and faster every day. Most seagulls only learn the most basics about flying. They learn how to get their morning breakfast and back to the shore. This we all know for facts when we're on the beach and we're trying to eat the seagulls. They know how to open bags now, apparently. Jonathan wanted to learn more, so he didn't care about the food. And because he thought differently, he was not very popular. In fact, he was always alone. It happened one morning, Jonathan flew higher and faster than ever before. When he swooped down, he was flying at 212 miles per hour. It's almost like those hawks that we see in the osprey hitting that lake out there. The seagull shrieked and feathers flew everywhere, and the flock was not happy. They didn't appreciate Jonathan's love of flying. They didn't agree with his way of thinking. They told him to leave the flock and never return. Jonathan was more lonely than before. Nope, I'm not going to do that. Jonathan Seagull left the flock and flew for miles and miles. Now, no one could tell him that his thinking was wrong. One day, he met 2 other seagulls, and they taught him beautiful new lessons about life and learning to fly. He was so happy, like this one here. Jonathan learned that boredom and fear and anger are reasons other seagulls never enjoy their life. He learned that the other birds were so consumed with squabbling over for food, they never learned how to soar in the clouds. He decided he wanted to teach each other seagulls, to see things the way he saw them. He wanted other seagulls to enjoy life without limitation, where they could achieve their dreams. It kind of makes me think about our art teachers, right? Our art teachers are very creative. Like, hey, don't paint in lines, paint all of them, right? Like Bob Ross, but that's probably before your time. Anyway. Jonathan Sood had other goals coming to him to learn. He taught them there is more to life than just slogging out the fishing boats and back. He taught them how to live and to fear the unknown, and not to fear the unknown. And he taught them it's okay to think different. When you love who you are, you can truly fly higher and faster, or crawl, and more beautiful than any other seagulls or kids around you. Thank you. This is a part where we sing our children away, and the mic is sliding down on me, so that's why I was holding it. But, all right, kids, you guys are ready? On your feet, and you're going to be led by Miss Trish. We're not good. There we go.
Bye, Nora. From a distance, the world looks blue and green, and the snow-capped mountains white. From a distance, the ocean meets the stream, and the eagle takes to flight. From a distance there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the hope of hopes, it's the love of loves, it's the voice of everyone. From a distance we all have enough, and no one is in need. There are no guns, no bombs, and no disease. There are no hungry mouths to feed. From a distance we are instruments, marching in a common band, singing songs of hope, singing songs of love. They're the voice of everyone. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. God is watching us, God is watching us, God is watching us from a distance. From a distance you look like my friend, even though we are at war. From a distance I cannot comprehend what all this fighting's for. From a distance there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the hope of hopes, it's the love of loves, it's the heart of everyone. God is watching us, God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance.
I love that song. Thank you. A few weeks ago, I went to dinner with a friend in Tampa and ended up at a Peruvian restaurant. The server approached the table and highly recommended one of their appetizer specials, grilled octopus. I turned to my friend, but I saw my octopus teacher. Have you seen the movie? My Octopus Teacher is a feature documentary following the story of Craig Foster, who, suffering from a loss of purpose, begins a daily diving regimen in the freezing kelp forests at the tip of South Africa to re-energize himself. What he discovers below the water's surface is a deep connection to the natural world in the form of an unusually curious octopus who becomes a healer and grounding force in his life. The film was shot over a year and explores the habits and personalities of a strange undulating creature. The cephalopod shares her secret world with Foster as they develop a touching bond. The octopus shows him things that have never been recorded by science or on film, and ultimately redefines Craig's understanding of the creatures we share our world with. From Craig Foster, the human subject in the film, we've lost the most important and very simple truth. The earth and the ocean give us every breath of air and every mouthful of food, yet we've abandoned them, somehow thinking we are independent children. We focus on economic and political issues instead of realizing that the foundation of all life is the natural world. Our seventh principle encourages us to have respect for the independent web of all existence of which we are a part. I've had my own nature teachers as of late. A year ago, I planted some milkweed to attract butterflies, but I was immediately aghast at the caterpillars with voracious appetites that were chewing up every leaf in sight and just leaving a stalk of leafless plants of leafless stalks. Unthinking and wanting to save the foliage for the butterflies, I squashed them. Fortunately, before it was a complete slaughter, I came to my senses, grade school biology senses, and realized these were the caterpillars that would one day emerge from their cocoons into beautiful monarch butterflies. Fast forward through the past year, I bought a package of Mexican tropical milkweed seeds, Asclepias curaçavica, and started them indoors under grow lights. I transplanted them to the yard once they were mature and sturdy enough. In the past weeks, I've watched as the caterpillars appeared, and they are quickly devouring the leaves and the butterflies. Every morning, I'm astonished at the number of monarch butterflies fluttering about the yard. Craig Foster, the documentary human from South Africa, reveals, now I know how the helmet shell is connected to the urchin and how the octopus is connected to the helmet shell. Bill Motter, the UUSP human from the Crescent Lake neighborhood, exclaims, now I know how the milkweed is connected to the butterfly, and the butterfly is connected to the caterpillar.
Thank you, Bill, for that beautiful share. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles. Who but Shakespeare could define the meaning of to be with any more eloquence? Certainly not I. To be, to become, to believe, to begin again and be renewed. As a student of morphology, I can tell you that adding the word or the prefix be to another verb increases the vitality of the action. Today is the spring equinox, symbolic of new beginnings, a reawakening of the natural world around us. Nature and its connection to animals renews many of us in our faith. And for some of us, we are renewed by our beliefs and our connection with the past. Some of us are renewed by the previous minister, and I learned much from him myself. And we remember all of those lessons well today. But for myself, I can tell you that it starts with music and movies. That when I feel myself needing to renew with what makes me you, I reach back to my roots. When I was 8 years old, I saw a movie called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and that movie made me think that anything was possible. If a seagull can learn to fly at 212 miles an hour, then why can't I? Jonathan Livingston Seagull made it okay to be different. And I was different. I knew I wasn't like other kids. My flock at lunch refused to let me sit with them. I was constantly made fun of. All I wanted to do was be me and pursue my dreams. Last weekend, many of people from this church attended a OK to Stay Gay rally to protest the ban on teachers discussing gender identity and sexual orientation. I remember what it was like in those early grades. I was born intersexed, neither completely male nor female. I was assigned female at birth, which for many that makes me cisgendered. But all my life I've had to explain the difference between intersex and transgender. The only time I haven't had to defend myself was with animals. Animals were always my friends. They were always my allies. Now they need me as an ally. They need you as an ally. They don't care what gender you are or if you have one at all. They just want you to love them. When I became disabled in 2006, I had a lot of time on my hands. My constant companion was a corgi pup, and she and I had many long discussions about life. And when I started taking classes in paganism, I had already learned that all life was sacred, not just human life. Ministry is the vocation of every person of faith. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm ourselves as a priesthood of believers. What does that mean? To share in ministry would suggest that we are all covenants, we are all stewards of the covenants that we make. Most of us are very familiar with the seventh principle, which Bill reminded us of, the respect for the independent web of life. So let's look at our sixth principle instead, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Our first principle speaks of the inherent worth of every person. Our second principle encourages us to compassion in human relations. But our sixth doesn't say human, it says all. Now, maybe this was just a complete oversight. You know how it is when you're working late at night or it's really early in the morning and you really haven't had your coffee yet and you stumble over your words like I have been. They didn't realize what they were saying when they approved the word all. Or maybe they were just waiting for someone like me to come along and say, hey, wait a minute, all means all of us, humans and animals. Henry David Thoreau said, shall I not have intelligence with the earth? Am I not partly vegetable and mold myself? All. There is also a quote from William Ellery Channing. Faith is love taking the form of aspiration. I believe it's something that we're all capable of. Love is the spirit of this church, and it connects us all. Love is our first form of shared ministry, and there is so much to learn from the animal world, not just the octopus. In Job 12:7 and 8, it says, "But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds in the sky, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, or let the fish in the sea inform you." The animal kingdom is so full of lessons for us, but we have to stop just looking at them and see them as a part of that sacred all. And when we do this, we begin to open ourselves to a new level of understanding. We become active practitioners in what we believe. As I mentioned, today is the spring equinox. In fact, it occurs at about 11:30 this morning. That's not too far away. Light and dark hang in balance for just a brief while. The land will become more green and fertile. The animals will bear their young, and the plants will bud and form fruit. The dark of the winter symbolizes the past, and the light of the spring symbolizes the future ahead. In our earth-centered traditions, the seasons are symbolic of the rhythms of life. This brief balance in time is fragile. As fragile as the earth, and as fragile as all life upon it. And in this fragile time, when we are most at peace, in balance, whether it be in balance with our minds, our bodies, our environment, it's when we're able to see the most clearly. And may we all see the web of existence that needs our shared ministry of love and compassion. When I sat down to brainstorm today's message, I was thinking about music. I was thinking about what song can inspire this service that I wanted to write about animals. And music has always been my great muse. So I went outside, and first thing I heard was a bunch of seagulls flying over. The movie Jonathan Livingston Seagull is by Neil Diamond, and I have always loved the song Be from the soundtrack. Notice a little trend here, be, believe. I knew you'd catch on. The final verse goes, "Be as a page that aches for words which speak on a theme that is timeless. Be." Let us each be a page that searches for new words. Let us each be a voice that sings a bright new song. Speaking of songs, that made me think of another song. Does anyone remember this one? If we could talk to the animals, learn their languages, maybe take an animal degree, I'd study elephant and eagle, buffalo and beagle, alligator, guinea pig, and flea. If people ask me, can you speak rhinoceros? I'd say, of course, Horus. Imagine the life of Dr. Dolittle from a distance. Lions, tigers, bears, deer, antelope, and penguins too, all getting along. Learn so much from the animals. But what if the animals could talk to us? What would they tell us? Oh yeah, I know what my cat would say, more treats. But not all animals are so fortunate. They also might tell us, no more pollution. What are you doing about climate change? They might say, where have all the forests gone? My home used to be there. Do you really need another superhighway? A shopping mall? Come on. My home is gone forever, and my animal friends are dying too. Perhaps the animals aren't the animals at all. If we are to be stewards of the earth, spreading love, why are so many people spreading garbage along the highway, dumping fertilizer into our waterways and draining marshlands? Maybe we do need to speak to the animals. Maybe we need to listen just a little louder to the World Wide Web. And maybe we have to realize our connection goes far beyond these walls. It goes far beyond that cute little kitty or puppy that we have at home. All life is affected by the damage being done to this planet in the name of progress, greed, and understanding, lack of understanding. Progress, there's that word. You know, when settler colonials first came to the Americas, they saw land, lush, green, with abundance of resources. They saw a wilderness full of animals for food, furs for trading. They saw indigenous people in the way. But they were determined to have progress. The hypnotic spell of the abundance of resources blinded them to the violent, bloody acts which are a part of our history. Over 600 years have passed and we're still faced with the same greed, which leads to a great devaluing of life. If only more people could understand the lesson that I learned, that all life is sacred. Imagine what this world could be. Progress. Just what are we progressing towards? More greed, material desires? If only animals could speak, but would people listen? We need to remind ourselves we all share a common goal: peace, liberty, and justice for all. As Ben reminds us every week, the mystery is we are all connected. But there is good news. We are becoming better. Before 1966, it was controversial to believe animals could feel pain. Thank you, science, for changing that belief. There is good news. In 2023, the first whale sanctuary will open off the coast of Nova Scotia. There is more good news. Remember all those terrible forest fires and drought in California? After their numbers were seriously depleted, the monarch butterfly count is back up. Yes, folks, there is good news. And as long as we remain connected and aware, the good news will continue. The bad news may still dominate social media. It'll be hard to turn on the news and not see something terrible going on in the world. But through active involvement and education, we can begin to alleviate the effects of the bad news. We can create our own good news. And then once again, we can just be. Blessed equinox.
Now, let us remember our connection to one another, and let us not forget our contributions to support the means to those connections. If you are a newcomer here, this service is our gift to you, and your presence is your gift to us. Our faith in covenant connects us together. Your contributions help us to make those connections stronger. We rely on financial donations as well as donations of time and service. Many thanks. Every year on March 25th, the International Day of Remembrance of the Victims of Slavery and Transatlantic Slave Trade offers us the opportunity to honor and remember those who suffered and died at the hands of the brutal slavery system. It is also a time to raise awareness about the dangers of racism, prejudice, and slavery that still happen and have happened all over the world. About 15 to 20 million people were transported against their will from Africa to South, Central, and North America and Europe during the 16th century and all the way up to the 19th century. The light of our faith is embodied within the flaming chalice. It will be transferred to light this flame of remembrance. The light of this candle shall radiate our love throughout the week to come. May the light of hope bring some peace to the memory of what transpired those many years ago. May this light also serve to illuminate within our minds the continued struggle against racism and prejudice which still plagues our world.
Thank you. And now as we come to a close in this service, I'd like everyone to participate in a call and response. You'll find the words in your program. I'm going to start us off, and if you will read the words in below, just below it where it says everyone else. We are an earth forever turning. And times move forward, changing, evolving, like the sea ever flowing. What has become our history is our lesson from yesterday and the days before. Our time is yet unwritten. With every turn of the earth, we are granted a new opportunity to open our hearts to the lessons of the world around us. An earth forever turning. What has happened before does not define us. We are a people of faith and love and commitment to peace. And now, if you will join me in releasing the flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love.